Hello, hello, and welcome to Hermetically Speaking. I am Toria, a mindset coach that helps people reprogram their minds after trauma, PTSD, and complex and other emotional difficulties. This is my podcast. Welcome, 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 all you blessed beings. And it's going to focus on fun, alchemy, spiritual awakening, mystic psychology, and everything seen and unseen and in between. We're going to walk that middle way of alchemy so that way we're right there smack in the middle of the macro and the micro, and we know that we are all things at the end of every podcast. There might be some blunders. There might be some little organic hiccups. I'm trying to keep this podcast as natural as possible while still learning how to edit and, get a little professional at the same time. So bear with me as I learn, and we are all on this journey together. So we'll jump right into the first full episode. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Like, follow, share, leave a review. Welcome to today's episode, where we're delving into the roots of mystic psychology through a hermetic and alchemical lens. To truly understand the transformative power of mystic psychology, we must go back to the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, the great sage who is said to have spoken the truths of the universe. Known to some as Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of wisdom, Hermes represents the alchemical mind, the bringer of knowledge and the scribe of the divine. Through his teachings, preserved in texts like the Kabbalion, we are reminded of the profound connection between the mind, spirit, and the universal laws that govern all of creation. Before we begin, I want to make it clear that I am not a licensed medical professional by any human standards or certifications. My qualifications come from lived experiences and spiritual transmissions. I am a vessel of experience and knowledge, blessed to share what I've learned. And this information is not intended to replace the work of licensed psychological or medical professionals. It is meant to be worked in conjunction with it, for they too are a part of this journey with us, helping to unfold the truths we are all seeking, and their expertise can be a powerful aid on our paths to healing and freedom. Additionally, my reference and terminological use of the term mystic psychology is rooted in the ancient teachings of Hermeticism. It reflects a framework of understanding the mind, spirit, and universe as one interconnected whole. This is not to be confused with the simple or modern terminology of psychology, as it is commonly practiced and known today. Mystic psychology dives into the deeper, spiritual principles of the mind and its connection to universal truths. What I share here is drawn from my own experiences and perspectives. If it resonates with you, wonderful. Take it and let it serve you. And if it doesn't, just take the little nuggets you might need and leave the rest. No matter what, I wish you many blessings as we are all on this journey together. And I am honored to walk alongside you in it. Now, let's get back to the regularly scheduled podcast and the current episode's topic of today, mystic psychology. According to the Kabbalion, the three original sciences are mystic psychology, alchemy, and astrology, the foundational disciplines that guide us in the understanding of the mind, the cosmos, and the transformative nature of existence. These sciences were not merely intellectual pursuits like they are now. They are sacred practices that intertwine spiritual wisdom with universal laws. Mystic psychology, rooted in the Hermetic principle of mentalism, asserts that the all is mind, revealing that reality itself originates in consciousness. Alchemy symbolizes the art of spiritual transformation, also known as transmutation, mirroring our ability to transmute pain, challenges, and limitations into gold, which is wisdom, growth, and illumination. Astrology, in its Hermetic essence, unveils the influence of celestial movements on our lives, showing us the dance between the microcosm of the self and the macrocosm of the universe. Together, these sciences formed a cohesive framework that illuminated humanity's connection to the divine and the interconnectedness of all things. Over time, however, modern-day humanity has lost touch with its innate wholeness. These sacred sciences were fractured into separate disciplines. Psychology became a study of the mind devoid of spirit. Astrology was relegated to superstition, and alchemy was reduced to the physical sciences. In isolating the spiritual from each of these practices, we fractured ourselves, diminishing our capacity to understand and embody the collective wholeness we once embraced. This separation fed the disconnection, the forgetfulness, and the illusion of separation not only within us, but also between us and the universe and creator consciousness. The result is a fragmented worldview, inhibiting our ability to fully step into the role of the sovereign creators that we are. Though this podcast focuses predominantly on mystic psychology, it's important to recognize that the other two sciences, alchemy and astrology, are inseparable from this work. The mind, as the foundation of all creation, inherently weaves together these disciplines. To study mystic psychology is to engage with the alchemical process of transformation and to align oneself with the cosmic rhythms revealed through astrology. These sciences are not distinct entities, but interwoven aspects of a united framework, guiding us to rediscover our innate wholeness and reclaim the interconnectedness that modern systems have sought to dismantle. Separating the spiritual essence from these sciences has fractured our understanding of ourselves and the universe. When we view psychology without spirit, it becomes limited to the surface level analysis of just the mind, ignoring its deeper mystical aspects. When astrology is stripped of its Hermetic roots, it becomes diluted into pop culture, losing its profound ability to reveal the cosmic blueprint of our lives. A perfect example of this is the new modern day use of the term narcissist. The true understanding of narcissism, or the term narcissist, and its meanings are completely overlooked, and it has turned way too much into the next big insult to try to hurt other people, which in some terms is pretty much narcissism in its reflection. So a lot of things that aren't taken into consideration in understanding the terms of narcissism or narcissist is the consideration of the projections that create it, the reflections, or being triggered from a past experience, or really one of my favorites that we completely overlook all the time, which is the fact that we are all one. And therefore, calling another person a narcissist is calling ourselves a narcissist. And what everybody really doesn't want to understand or hear is that we all have narcissistic tendencies, or the ability to behave in some regards when we enter into a survival mode, which is a lot. Codependency and its behavior is linked directly to narcissism. People-pleasing manipulation. You are literally manipulating someone to maintain your value with them. And then when it doesn't work out, you flip out on them and blame them because you were codependent on them. That's narcissistic. However, humans, they just have a harder time admitting anything that has to do with narcissism. They think it's just like the devil and blatant, disillusionment. And to be honest, it is a hard thing to admit because of the vulnerability and the vulgarity that comes with it, right? Like the framework and the paradigm that we've created around the word narcissist and narcissism. Why would anybody want to admit it unless you're on this spiritual journey looking to go into the alchemical transmutation of your subconscious and your soul? It was a hard admit for me, and I do get triggered by watching other people hurt other people. And so, yeah, it bothers me. And that's okay, and I'm working through it. However, I do think it's something that needs to be discussed on a broader scale. So, this is something that fractalizes us. Pop culture, without the conscious awareness, separates us. It also brings us together in some regards. Remember, everything is a paradox. Anyways, let's get back to the actual fucking script of the podcast. The fracturing feeds the illusion of separation, keeping us disconnected from our true nature as creators, healers, and magicians. It reinforces the forgetfulness that blinds us to our divine potential and the infinite connectivity of everything in existence. To heal this separation is to reclaim our sovereignty and reunite the fractured aspects of ourselves, stepping back into our roles as conscious co-creators of this reality that we all share here on the third dimension of Earth. Modern day psychology, though it's very valuable in its contributions, pales in comparison to the profound depth and wholeness of mystic psychology. Traditional psychology often focuses on the symptoms, categorizing and diagnosing the mind's challenges while relying heavily on external interventions like medications. They also don't teach you that while they categorize these symptoms, there are many symptoms that are widespread across multiple diagnoses. A good example of this is PTSD and complex. Both have a large amount of the same symptoms that depression, BPD, bipolar, and other neurological divergent diagnoses contain. Interesting food for thought there. Now, while their approaches can provide temporary relief or stabilization, they rarely address the root cause of the disturbances, which is our disconnection from the higher consciousness of the universe and the power within ourselves. Mystic psychology, in contrast, recognizes the mind as the ultimate tool for healing, transformation, and alignment with the divine, realizing, meaning that we can absolutely heal ourselves. Our mind can heal us if we believe it, if we put our investment in that belief, and if we work towards it and strive for it. And I know it's to be true because I've done it myself. And there have been many others as well. However, it hasn't been explained maybe in this type of simplistic terminology, right? Like faith, God, all of those things. Yes. It all aligns with spirituality. And this brings us back to the root in the Hermetic principle of the mentalism, which teaches us that the all is mind. And therefore, healing begins when we realign the fragmented self with the infinite intelligence of the cosmos. For centuries, humanity has struggled with psychological diagnoses, treatments, and misunderstandings, not because we lack the ability to heal, but because we have forgotten how to. The over-reliance on external remedies has dulled our trust in the innate power of our minds and spirits. However, we stand on the precipice of remembering. This is what we are here for. A collective awakening is stirring, reminding us that we possess the ability to heal ourselves entirely, to transmute pain into wisdom and illness into wholeness. The mind is not just a receiver of knowledge. It's the creator of reality. And we reclaim this truth. We unlock the limitless potential within ourselves. Mystic psychology invites us to rediscover this truth and move beyond surface level fixes, guiding us toward complete and lasting healing by integrating the spiritual, mental, and energetic aspects of our being. It is not our faults we forgot. It is not our faults we have been taught on such surface level things for as long as we have. This is a cycle of truth and ascension, and like breaking the dawn and its alchemical equations, the long road is the road of fortitude and lasting expansion. Now, we're going to segue into the Hermetic foundation of mystic psychology and bring it back to the heart of mystic psychology, where therein lies the principle of mentalism, the first of the 7 Hermetic principles outlined in the Kabbalion. The all is mind, the universe is mental. This teaching reminds us that reality is not fixed or external. It is a reflection of consciousness. Our thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions shape the world that we experience, and by transforming the mind, we then transform our reality. Hermes taught that the mind is both the key and the gateway to understanding the cosmos. Mystic psychology takes this principle and applies it to the healing process. Trauma, from this perspective, is not just a disruption in the psyche. It's a disturbance in the energetic patterns that connect the self to the universe. Healing becomes an act of mental, spiritual, and emotional alchemy, a process of realigning the fragmented self with the higher consciousness of the all. And I want to go back to the statement, trauma from this perspective is not just a disruption in the psyche, it's a disturbance in the energetic patterns that connect the self to the universe. This right here is a sentence that indicates the inability to, or the disruptions in manifestation, the inability to live your life in a magnetic type of way of peace and fulfillment, right? Like just the constant flow of money and the constant flow of love and peace. And as we're healing trauma, we learn how to connect those receptors from the macrocosm to the microcosm, little by little. And it is a journey because we're used to chaos, trauma, disruption. So when we start putting those circuit breakers back together, it's not just going to be, a one and done kind of thing. Because if we do a one and done, then there's the potential for a lot of bypassing, unfortunately, which will later lead to an ascension relapse. And so the long game, or the long con, whatever we want to call it, is the way of fortitude and temperance and every aspect of the divine being to completely have a stronghold foundation and complete the ascension in the divine light and the divine way that we are here to see it through, and for the way that it is meant to be. So as a conscious spiritual creator, this ability to see into the mind helps us not only unravel trauma, it also dissects the concept of duality. It illuminates how pain and suffering are often the catalysts for ascension and growth when we allow for it to be. Unfortunately, our paradigms around pain and suffering are very negative, and therefore it's a more rare occurrence than not for people to understand that when they're experiencing that it is to grow and it is for the betterment. Again, that pop culture, like, oh, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Like, we see that on a surface level. However, we're now working to embody it and understand its true meaning of the divine transmutation of the shadow into the light. So when we embrace this understanding, we begin to see that the challenges that we endure are not punishments or indications of failure. They are forms of nurturance, sharpening us into higher states of awareness. We are programmed through societal conditioning to believe that pain is inherently bad. This programming teaches us to agonize over it, avoid it, and run from it. However, mystic psychology reveals that pain is a teacher, a necessary part of the cosmic process of transformation. Why else would our human makeup have the same transmitter or receptor in the brain for pain as it does pleasure? Ask yourself that. Because they are the same, unequivocally and paradoxically. The original Hermetic sciences, as outlined in the Kybalion and the Hermetica, serve as the foundation for this understanding. These sciences are mysticism, astrology, and alchemy, those three pillars of ancient wisdom that we discussed at the beginning of the podcast. And together, they enable us to unlock the universe within ourselves, unveiling the divine truth that we are the universe, and the universe is us. This unity dissolves the illusion of separation and shows us that every experience, even those that feel unbearable, are part of the larger design of growth and evolution. It is worth noting, however, how far humanity has drifted from these fundamental truths. They have basically broken apart our foundation in this fractalization, and our foundations have become other things that we have thought were solid, and instead they're more like quicksand, drowning us into the third dimension further, into the thickness of the density, making it harder and harder to get out. In more modern eras, many figures played a role in altering the narrative that created this quicksand for us. For example, the ether, known as the fifth element in Hermeticism, was supposedly removed from scientific texts and teachings. Now, I have yet to find a concrete date or culprit. However, with knowing our history and where we've come from and where we are now, I accept this information as true and frankly don't care who did it. I'm just glad to know that it's resurfacing to aid us in remembering our truths. I'm not here to play the blame game. I just want the truths unveiled so I can move forward. I don't need to dismantle someone else when I find the truth. I have heard of famous people that have done this in textbooks, and I'm going to keep it anonymous in that regard, that if they did it, that sucks. And if they didn't do it, great, somebody else did it. However, I'm grateful that I'm presented with the truth, that the ether was an element that was honored at one point in time. And yes, it was removed. And part of me wants to say shame on them. However, shame is kind of what got us into this perpetual cycle. And shame is one of the hardest things to transmute. So no, I don't want to shame them. I want them to learn with me and see that they did something that they can now transmute and transform into something greater, just like we all have. We have all stolen, we have all lied, we have all cheated, we have all done whatever. In some regards, physical, mental, spiritual. None of us are innocent. We are all perfect. So whenever, however, whoever, this wasn't the origin of control through disinformation, ultimately. It didn't just happen in the beginning of the 1900s. It marks a continuation of an age-old effort to suppress knowledge and maintain control through fear. And I really highly recommend the book The Yugas, because it really helps understand the cycles of humanity and what we're going through. So it's not like, 5 people got together and said this had to happen. It's part of the cycle of ascension that every planet will go through with whatever species they have incarnate on it. So we blame a lot of this on humanity and certain humans in particular, and I get it. However, keep in mind that we have all forgotten at one point in time or another, and we have all caused harm through fear. So ultimately, we are all one, and the reparations sought are nothing compared to the shame each has to work through once they awaken to the pain and destruction they have caused others. So in other words, focus on yourself and appreciate the truths to set you free, not condemn others. The ether, the unseen element connecting all things, was dismissed as unscientific. Yet its absence left humanity with a diminished understanding of their own interconnectedness with the cosmos. When you focus on yourself, you are ultimately focusing on everything through you instead of through others. Reclaiming these Hermetic principles through mystic psychology and other esoteric sciences allow us to unlearn this programming and return to our roots, the roots of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, for they are one. We begin to see that healing is not just a personal journey, it is a cosmic act, a way of realigning the microcosm of the self with the macrocosm of the universe. And in doing so, we shift from fear to empowerment, from avoidance to acceptance, and from fragmentation back to wholeness. And if you haven't begun to figure it out already, here is how alchemy applies to the transmutation of trauma and therefore interprets into the mystic psychology I love and am confident that you will as well. In Hermetic teachings, alchemy is often associated with the transmutation of base metals into gold. True alchemy is much deeper than that. The surface elements are symbolic. True alchemy is the art of inner transformation, the process of turning the lead of suffering into the gold of enlightenment. Trauma, through the lens of mystic psychology, is the lead. It is heavy, it is dark, and seemingly immovable. Whether it's in our organs, our emotional body, spiritual body, sexual body, it suffocates various parts of our being, drowning us in programmed hardships. But within that lead lays the potential for gold. Through conscious effort, divine energy, and the principles of alchemy, we can transmute the pain into power. As Hermes Trismegistus would say, as above, so below, and as within, so without. This principle teaches that the patterns within us reflect the patterns of the universe. When we heal our internal wounds, we are not just healing ourselves. We are aligning with the divine harmony that exists in all things. Trauma fractures this harmony, but it does not destroy it. Mystic psychology is the process of restoring that balance, bringing the lower self into alignment with the higher self. Interestingly, the ancient alchemical pursuit of turning lead into gold is not just a myth. Modern science has demonstrated that nuclear transmutation, the conversion of one element into another, is theoretically possible and achievable in practice. By bombarding lead atoms with high-energy particles, such as neutrons or protons, scientists can remove protons from the nucleus to create gold from lead. However, this process is extraordinarily energy-intensive, yielding only microscopic amounts of gold and requiring immense resources, making it impractical on a large scale, really on a pop culture modern day science scale. And that's because it was only meant to be proven scientifically, so that way we could internalize it and know that it can be done internally. And we would mirror the knowledge and know what we are truly capable of. Unfortunately, again, modern sciences have taken the alchemy out of science and the mystic out of psychology and left us with what we know hasn't worked for far too long. This scientific feat, though economically unfeasible, offers a profound metaphor for the alchemical process within us. The challenges and energy required for nuclear transmutation reflect the effort, intention, and perseverance necessary for personal transformation. I mean, seriously, no wonder healing can be exhausting. Literally, on a base level, it's telling us this, like, my research has told me straight up that it takes too much energy, it takes too much work to transmute physical lead into physical gold in a scientific way. However, we are doing it internally on this journey, and we have every right to complain that we're exhausted. I wouldn't do it too much because that's a negative context, and you might lower your vibration in some ways instead of enter into victimhood. So maybe keep it at a limit and just awareness of, yeah, I'm exhausted. Let me heal and treat my body to something special today. But yeah, no wonder we're exhausted. So trauma, fear, and limitations are our inner lead. They are the weight, the heaviness, the density. And within them lies the potential for the gold, the wisdom, the resilience, the enlightenment that we're after. So just as nuclear transmutation alters the very structure of matter, conscious healing rearranges the energetic patterns of the mind, the body, and the spirit. How awesome is that? So trauma disrupts neural pathways, creating repetitive cycles of fear and survival responses. Healing is the process of stripping away the protons of pain and limitation and adding the neutrons of awareness, compassion, and self-love. This rewires the brain, reshapes behavior, and restores harmony to our systems. Similarly, at the cellular level, we can go even deeper. Science shows that trauma can influence gene expression through epigenetics. And intentional practices like meditation, breathwork, and energy work can reverse these changes, restoring balance. This process aligns beautifully with Hermetic principles, particularly as above and so below, as within, so without. The above, our higher consciousness, guides the transformation of the below, our physical and emotional realities. As we heal internally, we reshape our external experiences, creating a ripple effect that extends beyond ourselves to the world around us, which is why I always bring it back to that cute little girl putting on her seatbelt, telling her dad, "Worry about yourself." Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Or, in my terms, focus on yourself and the rest will fall into place. So think of this as conscious alchemy. The intense energy of choice, intention, and action transforms our inner structures. The trauma we carry often feels immovable, yet through the sacred work of healing, we refine it into the gold of our highest potential. Although, when we are in the thick of it, it certainly does not feel this way. Trust me, I understand completely. I've been there, I've done that for a long, long time, and in my past. This process, though, shows that every layer of existence, subatomic to cosmic, operates under the same principles of transformation. Healing, therefore, is not just a spiritual act. It's also a holistic rebalancing of the mental, physical, and energetic systems within us. So I cannot say it enough. At the core of Hermetic teachings is the principle of mentalism, which states that the all is mind. Mystic psychology embraces this principle, viewing the mind as the ultimate tool for creation and transformation. Just as nuclear transmutation transforms matter, the mind has the power to transform reality itself. Our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are the particles of our inner world, capable of being rearranged into new, life-affirming patterns. Trauma, fear, and self-limiting beliefs are not permanent. They are raw materials waiting to be alchemized into wisdom, clarity, and strength. This understanding emphasizes that healing begins with the mind. By shifting our thoughts and perceptions, we influence every layer of our being, from the energetic patterns of the spirit to the cellular processes of the body. Mystic psychology teaches us that each shift into consciousness ripples outward, reshaping both our internal and external realities. This is the science of transformation, connecting us to the infinite potential of creation within ourselves. And you, my friends, family, and followers, all that I am and all that we are the conduits. So before closing this episode out, I will quickly list the full path to wholeness as per the Hermetic principles and foundations of creation and alchemy and everything seen and unseen and in between. The Kybalion provides us with a map for healing through its 7 Hermetic principles. Number 1, our good old mentalism. All healing begins in the mind. Number 2 is correspondence, where patterns within mirror those without, offering insights for self-discovery. Number 3, vibration, raising the frequency of the mind and body through intentional practices. And number 4, polarity, transforming negative experiences by embracing duality and therefore harmonizing non-duality. 5, rhythm, honoring natural cycles of healing. Here we can pull in the pain and pleasure. 6 is cause and effect, breaking cycles of trauma through accountability and choice, ultimately allowing us to begin stepping into the role of creatorship. And 7, gender, balancing masculine and feminine energies to achieve wholeness. Gender means generational, which is where we come from, and we are all birthed with the masculine and feminine, therefore, all containing the masculine and feminine. Embrace it all for authentic transmutation. Applying these principles allows us to align with universal wisdom, stepping into the role of the alchemist, the creator of our own healing, and then eventually the creator of our realities. Baby steps, though. And each one you take is a perfect fit for you at this time. As Thoth teaches in the Emerald Tablets, man is in the process of changing to forms that are not of this world. Mystic psychology views trauma not as an end, but as a catalyst for spiritual evolution. By facing our shadows with curiosity and compassion, we transmute pain into power and darkness into light, invoking the ascension. So in closing today's episode, mystic psychology, rooted in Hermetic and alchemical wisdom, invites us to view healing as a sacred process of remembering who we are. It teaches us that trauma does not define us. It refines us. Through cosmic conscious effort, we transmute the lead of our challenges into the gold of enlightenment. By embracing the teachings of Hermeticism, we reclaim our innate power as co-creators of reality, stepping into the universe that we are not just part of the universe. We are the universe, reflecting its divine perfection at every level. Let the alchemy of healing transform you. And as you heal, remember, you are not only transforming yourself, you are contributing to the ascension of humanity and the elevation of the cosmos. This is Toria, signing off for now. And if you like this episode of Hermetically Speaking, please like, share, leave a review, and add it to your playlist. I and we, for all that channel through me, appreciate your support deeply. Blessings and namaste. Blessings and namaste.